Welcome back to another episode of Zone Coverage. I'm Cody Schoeler here with Ryan Root, as always, ready to talk about some NFL action as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. I know fantasy playoffs starting in most leagues, if they haven't already. I know my leagues. So,
I didn't make any
some
line
playoff
now,
action
Cody.
going on. Sad day. But we will start with some news that may impact your fantasy playoffs. Certainly will impact the games happening this weekend. But first, we're going to go with some players for sure out. The biggest one being DeAndre Hopkins, expected to miss the rest of the regular season. Keyword there, regular season. My guess is that it's a precaution to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs, as he's been dealing with some, injuries and little nicks and bruises, a little bit more than that actually, for the past couple weeks. So they just want to make sure he's healthy for the stretch run.
I'll be honest, Cody. I think this makes me very worried about the Cardinals going forward because you're not going to have DeAndre Hopkins for the rest of the regular season. It's not the end of the world. This is a playoff team at the end of the day, but most likely, I don't think this team gets a first round bye. So they do have to play the week following the season. I think this team could win one or two playoff games if the entire team was healthy. But the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is expected to come back in the playoffs, is he going to be 100%, or are they fast tracking him to have a better shot? We'll just have to see when we get there. But this kind of makes me worried because, the Cardinals are losing a little bit of their momentum, especially after the loss against the Rams on Monday, So is this team going to be still dangerous in a few weeks? Hopefully they are, but this is definitely going to hurt them for the time being.
I mean, my thing with him is that he hasn't really been doing anything too crazy this year. Hasn't gone for over 100 yards, only 2 games with multiple touchdowns.
It has been an
8 touchdowns on the year. So I think the Cardinals offense has gotten to the point where they don't necessarily need him. Now, obviously, the playoffs, you want to be at full strength. We've talked about how, much just like jostling for position is going on. Cardinals lost on Monday night to the Rams. They're now only 1 game ahead of them in the standings for the division, and they've dropped from the first seed to the third seed in the playoff just rankings in the NFC. So they need every win they can get. So whether or not they need DeAndre Hopkins to be good, not necessarily, but they are going to need him in order to, make it to and, win the Super Bowl, as obviously that is the goal. So that's definitely a big loss for them. Another player who will be out this weekend is Darren Waller, will not be playing for the Raiders. Another guy who's been struggling a little bit to kind of replicate his numbers, but, the Raiders kind of in the thick of that wild card, race would definitely like to have Darren Waller in the lineup.
Right. Yeah, I mean, having Darren Waller definitely makes this offense not, one of the bottom 5 offenses in the league with how everybody else has been performing, really. I mean, Josh Jacobs is pretty much irrelevant at this point. There's not really a go-to, premier receiver on this team other than Waller. I mean, this is going to hurt their offense quite a bit. And, I mean, I've already kicked this team out of the playoff picture. I think their loss last week to the Chiefs just shows that they have absolutely no momentum, and I think probably no morale going forward. Them not having Darren Waller, I guess, hurts their chances of making the playoffs. It was already 0 to begin with in my book, and obviously the Raiders are going to, again, have to tackle another offseason to try to get some free agent help or, obviously go through a coaching cycle and whatnot, but the season's already over for them as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. One more, Kareem Hunt, unlikely to play this weekend for the Browns. Nothing official yet, but, somebody who's kind of been in and out, came back, got a little banged up again. The Browns definitely are in the playoff hunt. I've got, a note on them in a second, as more and more players just keep getting added to the COVID list. But yeah, so that, Browns I think will be fine. Nick Chubb's still there. Dearness Johnson can fill in. good enough for them. So not the biggest deal, but they also need all the help they can get.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Chubb is obviously still the premier back on this team, and Kareem Hunt could start for, I think, like 20 plus teams in this league. They do have two starters in this backfield, and I mean, it's kind of just following the trend of the Browns this entire season of just having all these injury issues or these COVID issues, locker room issues with Odell, all these things that have just kept holding them back. And I mean, now, that we're saying, Kareem Hunt might play, might not play. We might have, Case Keenum start. We may not have him start, there's all this kind of jumping around. And meanwhile, Myles Garrett is having a defensive player of the year type performance. This team is very strange, and I'd be honestly shocked if they made the playoffs. I don't think they have a 0% chance, but I'd be pretty shocked if this team went into the wild card, because let's face it, it's going to be wild card, right? I mean, they're not winning the division, so
yeah,
I'd be shocked.
Something that certainly won't help them as we get into our COVID portion of the news, because a bunch has happened this week. I know I wrote out a list of quite a few players that have been added to that list. I think most notably is Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum are both on the list now, meaning Nick Mullins will start for the Browns this weekend. So that is something very interesting.
I mean,
because both of them tested positive, Keenum and Mayfield. So
I mean, when's the last time that a team's had their first and second string quarterback injury? Actually, it's probably not that long ago now that I think about it, but you're going to have to rely on Nick Mullins, who I think has a handful of wins for San Fran in the past couple of years. So, fingers crossed for Cleveland.
I mean, he might have
a lot of touches.
He might be the best third string quarterback.
I mean, he might be, because he started in games, right? I mean, what other – I can't even name a third string quarterback off the top of my head. So maybe
most teams don't even carry him. But if we're looking at – I don't know if you can see this whole list. Obviously, some players are on the list. They may be able to get off of it in time for the game this weekend, but the Browns have some other guys on there: Austin Hooper, Jarvis Landry, a couple linemen. Alexander Madison's on the list. Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham, Tyler Lockett, and Alex Collins were added today. So, I mean, it's just going around the NFL right now. A ton of players getting added. I'm sure there will be more added between now and when these games actually kick off. So, just stay, alert on that. Pay attention. Because who knows what can change. And so hopefully teams are preparing for that. I don't know if any of these names in particular stick out to you.
Well, obviously, other than Baker Mayfield and Case Keenum, I thought Tyler Lockett really jumped out to me in terms of the Seahawks offense that's been struggling. And Odell Beckham stuck out as well. I mean, obviously, they still got Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford for right now, fingers crossed. And then even Jarvis Landry on the Browns getting taken out as well. I mean, Alexander Madison, that I think does have a little bit of impact on Minnesota, because you never know if Dalvin Cook is going to be, getting 30 plus rush attempts, or he's getting 10 rush attempts and he's battling an ankle sprain or something. So I think even that means something. Austin Hooper on the Browns too. Like, wow. I mean, Browns are just. I think COVID might have just taken their playoff hopes away, to be honest. I mean, I know it could only probably last a week for these players, or maybe 2 weeks, but you need to get the ball possible.
They have 15 players on the list. The Browns do. The Rams also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like 14. The Vikings have 6. Yeah, so I mean, this is just something to watch. Washington has, oh God, I can't even count that. That looks like 20. So I mean, a lot of crazy stuff going on, but that's not the craziest thing that's happened this week, because Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer was fired. I don't know how much is related to the fact that the report came out that he kicked his kicker the other day. But
I saw that headline and I'm like, I mean,
yeah.
did he kick him? Did he tap him? I didn't do a whole lot of research into it, but the moment I heard that he kicked one of his players, I was like, okay, this isn't just players complaining at this point. This is like actually kind of strange.
Yes. No, so obviously a lot of stuff has happened throughout the season, off the field, and then on the field they've got 2 wins. So not the greatest season for them, but Urban Meyer will no longer be coaching the Jaguars. I'm currently looking up where his stint ranks amongst shortest in NFL history, because he didn't even get a full season.
Right. It's not the shortest, because I think there was a coach from maybe San Francisco that had like 5 games coached, something like that. But
Bill Belichick technically was the head coach of the Jets for 24 hours. But
so I guess
Pete McCulley coached 9 games for the Niners, and then Lou Holtz, Bobby Petrino, and Urban Meyer all coached 13. So in the category of Lou Holtz, not a bad thing. In this case, it is. But so one of the shortest stints in NFL history as a head coach. So that's they're making history. Urban Meyer,
they're making
Jaguars. That's something.
Making some history with that, and Trevor Lawrence having maybe one of the worst first overall pick performances that I've seen in a long time. But I mean, obviously Jacksonville is a huge work in progress, and it's not like we had any sort of huge expectation for Urban Meyer. I mean, he got Tim Tebow as a tight end in the offseason, and we were all like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. And Tebow jerseys were getting sold, and you're like, okay, this is an interesting start. And they drafted a running back in the first round, even though they had James Robinson in the backfield, who was an undrafted rookie who got 1,000 yards. But they wanted to get Travis Etienne, and then he got hurt in the preseason. So, I mean, I don't really know what his plan was to begin with, but I mean, there really is definitely a difference between college coaches and NFL coaches. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, because you look at Nick Saban in Alabama, he's got however many national titles. And Nick Saban did coach in the NFL. He coached the Browns with Bill Belichick. They are not
coached the Dolphins.
And the Dolphins as well, yeah. Bill Belichick is an NFL coach, and that's what he's good at. Nick Saban is a college coach, and that's what he's good. It's just it's the way that the game is played, because whether you like it or not, college football and the NFL are different sports, really. They're played differently. College has a lot more trick plays, and college football is a lot more, for lack of a better term, like arcade-like. It's not. I mean, the biggest difference
the biggest difference for a coach is just the rebuilding process. Urban Meyer can go to a new school and he can recruit a top whatever class immediately. In the NFL, it happens much slower, and you can't do it by just winning over players. You have to do it by, you got a salary cap, you've got the draft, you got all these things. And the thing with Urban Meyer, it wasn't on the field stuff that got him fired. I mean, this was pretty much what I know I expected, and probably a lot of people expected, maybe a little bit more, fight and a little bit, some closer games at times. But at the end of the day, it was the off the field stuff that got him in trouble. And that's the reason why he's fired, because he took over the worst team in the NFL and they were still bad. That was going to happen. Whoever takes it over next, they're probably still going to be bad for a few years. You can't just turn it around like crazy. And so I don't know if Urban Meyer thought he was going to be able to do that or what, but I mean, that's the thing. If you get hired to an NFL team, they're probably not in a great position, especially if, they're hiring somebody from the college ranks. That happened with Saban and the Dolphins, and there's a better opportunity there. So I think that's the big reason. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you're causing all that drama off the field and the results on the field are backing it up, that's, that's a bad combination.
Yeah, the recruiting is a big part of college that, definitely is a key difference, considering that, Alabama could have a really good year, a really off year. But if you get an offer from Alabama, that's probably the best offer you're going to get in college. It doesn't matter if Alabama went winless next season. If you got an offer to play for Alabama, you would 100% take it. But the Detroit Lions, if they go, 0-17 this season, if they did go 0-17 this season, nobody in the free agency is going to be like, oh, but I would love to wear that blue jersey with the lion head on my helmet. I would just love to represent this organization. They've never won a Super Bowl. And, there are plenty of college programs that have never won a national title, but they do have prestige that backs them up to get those recruits. And it's just not the same thing for the NFL. There's really there's obviously a finite amount of colleges as well in the NCAA, but 32 teams, that's all you have to work with. There's not really a minor league, football league in America, one that really sticks anyways. You have the CFL and you got the NFL, and you got indoor football league if you really want to play it. It is a completely different process to organize the team in the NFL. And that's why people need to stop saying, oh, Nick Saban should be the next coach of blank, or, when people said Urban Meyer should be coaching in the NFL, and some people were excited and some people were like, well, it's the Jaguars, right?
Yeah, he tried it.
If he had a different team, like maybe if you gave Urban Meyer the Saints roster, it could have been interesting. Okay. Yeah. But the Jaguars, you're just not getting there. If you would have given him the Lions, I don't think he would have done much better. I feel like Dan Campbell's mentality with that team is fantastic. You would have given him the Texans, I think he would have maybe done worse. He had a first overall pick to work with at quarterback. So, obviously he's a rookie quarterback, but it's Trevor Lawrence, so he knows how to throw a ball at least. But if he had a different team, it could have been a different outcome. We never know.
Yeah, maybe. But, I think that's the thing is, this was beyond football and that stuff, who knows? You can't really change. Who knows what he would have been doing after wins if this is what he was doing, some of the things he was doing after losses. But just quickly, any predictions for how many other people get fired? How many jobs come open? Obviously, we've got this job open. The Raiders job will they have an interim. My guess is they'll look for a permanent option. Rich Bisaccia will be in the mix for that, but that's 2 out of the 32. There's a few I think in my head I can think of that are on the hot seat. I don't know how many will fully become open though.
Right. The majority of coaches in this league have their rightful spot at least for the rest of the season. You never know. You never know what could happen in the next year, but I don't even think you should fire the Houston coach, to be honest with you, because Houston just fired. They just
but I don't think it was. I don't think he was a good hire to begin with.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I don't even remember who the Houston coach is. That's why I don't think he should get fired. Like nobody's complaining about the Houston coach. Like nobody, other than Houston super fans. Everybody's looking at, oh, they have Davis Mills at quarterback. That's why they're losing. Oh, they have Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. That's why they're losing. They have no running back. They have no defense. They have no receivers. Like, that's why they're losing. They have, like, a boys and girls club roster that they're playing with every week. I wouldn't even fire the Houston coach. I also would not fire Robert Saleh, despite a 3-10 record.
Well, yeah.
I think he is a good coach.
I think all the other –
right.
I think all the other first – year head coaches are set.
Right.
That's just Robert Saleh, Dan Campbell, and then some other ones, but they're not at the bottom like some of these other teams.
I'll just say
Arthur Smith, Nick Sirianni.
I'll just say 3 off the top of my head that I think could definitely be fired in this offseason. It wouldn't shock me one bit. One being Chicago, because
Matt Nagy.
Praising Matt Nagy at all recently. Ever since the Trubisky pick, they've been waiting for Nagy to go. And he's a former coach of the year. Mm-hmm. It's kind of weird. But other than a weird good season, he's got to go. The other team being Carolina. Matt Rule I don't think Matt Rule has a really great system for this team. And obviously he's had to go through injuries with Christian McCaffrey and a huge bust of a trade with Sam Darnold. But even Cam Newton's coming in. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I think Matt Rule could definitely be fired. Will he be? Who knows? But then I wouldn't be surprised if Pete Carroll gets fired because he's well outdated in the NFL. He's well outdated in the NFL. There's nothing happening for the Seahawks organization right now.
He'll never get fired. It'll be a mutual parting of ways. But I mean, there's so much more for that team to deal with than just that. I think he'll probably stick around, but he's not getting fired. He'll retire when he's done. I would put Joe Judge up there for the Giants.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, the thing
with him, but it just doesn't. It's
not. Well, the
working.
thing, because I think, yeah, he's new, but it's like it's these guys that were interesting coaches to begin with, the Joe Judges, the David Culley, who weren't head coaches or offensive coordinators, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. And you can, if a guy is just in over his head, that's what I think just might be with David Culley. He just might not be ready for it. He just might not be the option. I think that's the same with the Giants. I mean, this was a special teams coordinator. He looked all right at times, but I just don't think that is the right call at the end of the day. And then Mike Zimmer is going to be an interesting one. They're on the periphery of the playoffs, but I think that is just more some inner turmoil stuff. Obviously, who knows what's going on there. But, I mean, the Vikings are always going to be – they're never going to be terrible. I think they might
they're not going to be amazing.
Yeah, so, it's that, it doesn't look like we should fire our coach, but this will help us, get to the next level. And I think that, that could possibly be what they're looking for. So, but I agree that Matt Nagy should almost certainly be gone. I've been, I thought even last year that he was on the hot seat. I just think, underperformance is the main reason that gets you fired. It's why Robert Saleh and Dan Campbell aren't on the hot seat, because they're not underperforming. They're doing pretty much exactly what was expected.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, there's some other circumstances surrounding that that aren't all brought down to him. But yeah, Matt Nagy, Mike Zimmer, maybe kind of, sort of, and I don't know, Joe Judge. I mean, the Giants probably weren't expecting to be competitive, but yeah, I just when you're underperforming, and especially underperforming due to in comparison to the talent on the roster, that can be the death blow.
So one last question doing with this topic. So now that we know the coaches that should be fired, who are the coaches that we think should be in the NFL or should get the head coaching job? I mean, off the top of my head that I personally have, I've been a very big fan of Brian Dabble ever since he's over.
This isn't the year that he's – I don't know if this is the year he's getting the
thing with Brian Dabble is he wins every single place he goes. He used to be with New England. He used to be with Alabama. He's got national titles and Super Bowls under his belt. He doesn't leave organizations without a championship, and he wins a lot. So being the offensive coordinator for the Bills, they were in the title game last year, and he was one of the prime head coach candidates. I thought he would have been an amazing hire for the Chargers with Justin Herbert, but they've done plenty of great things this season without Brian Dabble. But I don't think he's going to take a head coaching job because I still think he is sworn to that Buffalo offensive coordinator role. Just a little fun fact for you, he's from the area. So I think he should be a head coach. Don't think he will be per se, but I don't have a ton of coordinators off the top of my head that I think could make the promotion. Or Kellen Moore is another one that sticks out to me that I think could definitely be a head coach of an up and coming team.
Yeah, I don't.
It's just mainly.
I would go.
Mind is the thing.
I mean, yeah, but he strikes me as more of a college head coach.
I think he should be a head coach anywhere, NFL or college. I think he should be a head coach.
I think Eric Bieniemy is a name that gets thrown out a lot. Again, like Dable, this probably isn't the best year for him with what's happening there. I mean, I think Byron Leftwich, I believe, is the offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay, learning under Bruce Arians, I think he could kind of take that to the next level. I just looked up Joe Barry's the Packers defensive coordinator. I mean, coordinators on good teams is who you should be aiming for. And then you've got the reclamation projects, the Dan Quinn's, who's doing a good job with that defense. in Dallas.
Is anybody going to want to roll the dice with Dan Quinn again?
He's gone to the Super Bowl, so that's more than
that's a very positive way to look at it. Yes, he did go to a Super Bowl.
He turned around a Dallas Cowboys defense, made them really
technically
good.
Is a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, but a head coach is a different story.
Then Todd Bowles, who had a tough time in New York with the Jets, now I think back with he's on the Buccaneers, and then Vance Joseph, former Broncos defensive coach, is a Arizona defensive coordinator. So it just depends on what you're trying to get, depending on where you are at. But there doesn't seem to be the super hot coaching candidates like the Robert Salas and some of the Brandon Staley last year. So that'll probably heat up.
Yeah, there's not really a huge storyline following a coordinator or I think college coaches that could make the leap. I know you probably have, but
I think the problem with that is there's so many college coaches that have already moved around. Matt Campbell could technically be one. He's kind of always had his name, but he didn't take a new college road. Lincoln Riley was one that people thought for a while. I doubt he's moving. A lot of the college coaches are getting locked up long term. So I guess if you're looking at the college level, you can go for Matt Campbell. Try to lure Luke Fickell. Because the college
would be a good one.
Yeah, that's sure, go for him. Jimmy Lake and Nick Rolovich, go for that. Lane Kiffin never moved, but I doubt somebody looking at him. And then if you want another reclamation, Bill O'Brien joined Alabama, and he's trying to go through the Nick Saban rehabilitation. An NFL head coach again, but there are some options. It's obviously been a crazy year in college, and I think the NFL will start to hear more names. One, once jobs are starting to open up, and two, once we see how it goes in the playoffs. Because if the Colts offense goes on an incredible run, or if the Cardinals defense just locks everybody down, then that's going to make some coordinators really hot to get hired. So I think we're a bit away, but there's Eric Bieniemy and Brian Daboll, guys in the last cycle that didn't get jobs, will certainly be in the mix as well.
Yeah, and Mike Leach would be hilarious as well. I got to at least root for Mike Leach to maybe take over in either Houston. Might be. He wouldn't be so far from Mississippi State, so. Houston, maybe Jacksonville, but I'll just keep my fingers crossed for that one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but if you don't like, he's not going to do the things that Urban Meyer. Just interesting tidbits and some quotes, but we can move on into talking about the games that will be going down this weekend, starting with tonight. Pretty big matchup for Thursday night. Once again, Chiefs and Chargers. Let's see. The COVID list, I believe Josh Gordon was on it, Chris Jones. So if Chris Jones is out, that'll be tough. And then the Chargers expecting to get Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler back for this game. Both have been, limited in practice. Austin Eckler probably won't have a full workload. He does play. So neither of these teams at, 100%, full strength, health-wise, but not as bad as some other teams, so they should be pretty much a full go tonight.
Yeah, I think Justin Herbert has a lot on his shoulders tonight to try to get this win against Kansas City, because correct me if I'm wrong, did they not beat Kansas City earlier in the season, correct?
They did.
They did?
That's one of their losses, Kansas City.
So if they beat Kansas City tonight,
it was Justin
first
Herbert.
In the division.
Yeah, he led the drive to get the game-winning field goal. So
right.
Get on him for that.
So this is huge for Justin Herbert, I think, because, Kansas City is looking like the front runner in the AFC, with Baltimore, kind of stumbling, and the Patriots maybe not having everything it takes to get to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. But this is a huge game for the Chargers, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked if they won. I'd still pick Kansas City. I was about to pick the Chargers, but the fact that they're having all these, kind of speed bumps with the offensive lineups and whatnot, I can't go against Patty Holmes on primetime against a division rival in the end of the season. I'd go with the Chiefs here.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the real test for the Chiefs defense. They're certainly better than they started out the season, but are they, has it been matchups? Or are they really proven if they are able to just slow down Justin Herbert, don't need to shut it like they've done to the Raiders, then that'll be a huge, thing for them and would really make them scary going forward. But I'm not going to pick Kansas City to lose to a division opponent twice in the same year. I think, Chargers got them on the first time, but this is a very different Chiefs team. Hopefully this is when they start getting back into, the offense. Because even last scoring a lot of touchdowns, a lot of short fields, the fantasy production really wasn't there for Mahomes and for Kelsey and Hill. So, let's see if they can get back at it again. And yeah, I mean, the Chargers rush defense is still, vulnerable. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Darrell Williams, might get some touchdowns for them.
So I'm having to do a double take on this. Maybe I missed a headline, but
on Saturday games.
On Saturday, we have Oakland going. Oh, did it again.
Come on, it's been.
They're not going to make the playoffs. I can call them. I can call them the terrible football players for all I care. I mean, Raiders.
There's like 12 other teams that are worse than them, but they've been in Las Vegas for long enough. Yep, Saturday. 2 Saturday games. As soon as the college regular season and championship week is over, NFL's back up on. They're getting on those Saturdays.
I gotta say, for the Raiders, you picked a great time to play at Cleveland. I'm sure it was their choice entirely. They picked a great time to play Cleveland with all of the COVID issues that this team has.
Yeah, the line. A few hours ago, the Raiders were favored by 1. As soon as that news broke that Nick Mullins would be starting, the Raiders are now up to 3.5. So 2 point swing there. I switched my pick from Cleveland to Las Vegas because, I'm switching back. Cleveland. Because really, is Nick Mullins that much worse than what we've been seeing from Baker Mayfield recently? It's not his fault. He's been injured, but...
Yeah, if you had, Nick Mullins and Baker Mayfield play 10 games apiece, Nick Mullins might outplay Baker on 2 of those games, I'd think.
But an injured Baker Mayfield, Nick Mullins has started before. He's won games before. Like I said, there's some backups that I feel more confident in. Taylor Heineke, obviously, being my main guy. Geno Smith not really being one of them, but Nick Mullins, spot start ability. And this Browns team is, I don't want to say quarterback proof, but even with Baker Mayfield, not a bunch of it is leaning on them. It's going to be the running game. It's going to be the defense needing to step up. And, I think it's doable. So I'm back on, I'm riding for Nick Mullins.
So you said the line is now 3 points for the
3.5. 3.5 for the Raiders.
So I'm not sure if I'd pick the Browns to win, but I would pick the Browns to cover. The Raiders barely.
Yeah, 3.5. That 3.5 is pesky because you get that field goal win by the Raiders and Browns still cover. So.
Yeah, so I would pick the Browns to cover, and maybe they win. That's why I picked that they cover. That's the only time that I'm ever gonna pick.
But the Raiders, the Raiders aren't doing much recently either. They just got blown out by the Chiefs. A lot of other teams, I would go, go with whoever else playing the Browns. But the Raiders, there's not a lot of reason to be confident in them either. The other Saturday game is one I'm much more interested in.
Yeah, Patriots at Colts. It's at 5:20 Pacific Standard Time.
Colts are favored.
The Colts are favored, and I don't necessarily disagree with it either. The Colts have just really snuck back into the playoff picture in these past few weeks. And I remember we were talking about this team early in the season, and we're like, this team is terrible. Carson Wentz is like not playing bad, but they suck.
Started 0-4, I think 0-3
Right.
or 0-4.
0-4.
They were one of the undefeated teams. When are they going to get their win? And they got it.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, Carson Wentz is also going against Bill Belichick. And I know that Carson Wentz has not been playing a stellar season, but has not been playing a bad season by any means. Carson Wentz, who I guess is a former MVP winner, really.
No,
I don't think
MVP candidate.
He was going to win it.
Well, he didn't.
Well, he's playing against the team that had a quarterback that won it instead. So Belichick, I think, will get the upper hand on Carson Wentz. And, I mean, most of the offense anyway is Jonathan Taylor centered, right? I mean,
yeah, Carson Wentz isn't going to be deciding this. He hasn't really decided any of these games. He is essentially what Mac Jones is, just with a little more playmaking ability. Maybe that goes the other way sometimes with some bad plays. But, these are two similar teams in that they rely on the run. Obviously, I don't think we see a repeat of 3 pass attempts. I think that was a very weather-dependent game. This is in Lucas Oil. This will be covered. There will not be 50-mile-per-hour winds, but still, these teams both rely on the run and their defenses to different extents. But I do like the Colts in this. I think it's more of what I want to happen as opposed to what I think's going to happen. It's not that I don't think it's going to happen, but both these teams are really hot, probably playing some of the best football out of anybody. And I believe, the Colts can kind of keep it going. The Patriots kind of had their big win 2 weeks ago, and now I think it's the Colts' time.
And my thought process is I don't think this is the team to officially take them down. I think it could be Buffalo, and that's the last shot. Because Jacksonville and Miami, there's no chance in hell that they beat the Patriots. Maybe if they just start all of their backups when they have the division locked or whatever. But or the first round, it's like Buffalo has a chance against the Patriots to be the ones to take them down. I'd have more faith in them than I would the Colts because these are both run-first teams, right? One defense is obviously better than the other. The clock's going to expire. All it takes is for one of these offenses to kick 1 or 2 field goals when they should have been touchdowns, and then New England's going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So I think the Colts have enough.
Colts are interesting, but I think the Colts are better than the Bills right now. So I think they can do what the Bills couldn't. Maybe
they're around the same kind of momentum going right now, and the Colts have been hot. So that just shows how high I was on the Bills. But
the same momentum. Buff just got beat 2 weeks ago by a team that didn't even throw the ball. I don't think that's very good momentum at all.
Well, it was a 1-possession win, wasn't it? It wasn't like they lost by 40.
Yeah, it
was a very competitive game. Obviously, they should have just been blitzing on every single play, but they didn't. So it wasn't a good game.
But the team didn't pass the ball. So that's I think it's a little embarrassing.
So now we can talk about Arizona at Detroit on Sunday for a 10 a.m. game. Arizona, a 13.5-point favorite over Detroit.
I'll take them. Yeah, we've glossed over.
Yeah, they constantly prove people wrong, so I would probably take it too.
Yeah, we've glossed over a lot of games that we thought, easy win here, and then it turned out it wasn't, or in a case with the Minnesota Vikings, it was even a loss, but I don't think we're in danger of that happening here. The Lions turned around and, got beat by 28 by the Broncos, so, and Arizona is much better, and they might be looking for some revenge.
Yeah, in terms of a Detroit upset for the rest of the season, this isn't the team that they can do it against. I'd love for it to happen, but Arizona has to get their act together to try to get that number 1 seed. Like I said before, they're obviously a playoff team, but you could look at this as a potential tune-up game. Detroit competes very, very hard. There are Detroit at the end of the day. And Kyler Murray,
sometimes
this could be his tune-up game to get back in the rhythm of being the premier quarterback on this team. And I would definitely take the Cardinals, and like you said, to cover 2. I mean, the Lions don't have really much of a shot to win.
I mean, they've got a shot, but it's a very minuscule one.
They got a shot, but they probably need all of the Cardinal starters to get hurt. Like I think
mean, it's the same shot. It's the same mathematical chance as if me and 10 8-year-olds were taking on the Cardinals. Like, technically, there's a shot, but it's not gonna happen. But I guess hypothetically, it could happen, but it won't.
It could happen, yes. So now we have an absolute stellar showing here. We have the Jets at the Dolphins. Now, Dolphins are 6-7. Keep in mind. It's not like
this is. I thought you were going to hit me with
a terrible team anymore.
I thought you were going to hit me with a different game, because there's a different game that you can have that reaction to. But the Dolphins are a watchable, semi-intriguing team. The Jets aren't. But
they are lately. At the beginning of the year, other than a win over the Patriots at the beginning of the year, there was nothing back.
They've been rattling them off. But
Tua has been proving me wrong as of late. I will say it right here and now. I am one of the biggest Tua haters you'll probably see, but Tua has been playing very well. I just want to pull up his recent stats here from his previous games. Has had multiple games well over 200 yards. The past 3 games have been over 200 yards, which the only game that he didn't get over 200, the previous 3, he got over 200 anyways. And that was my biggest knock on the guy, is because I never thought he was a consistent 200-yard thrower. I thought he was a very boring, dull quarterback who just doesn't like to really take a whole lot of chances throwing the ball downfield. He's been playing very, very well, and his completion percentages are what stick out the most. We already know this with Tua as a super accurate quarterback, but in the past 4 games, I mean, he's averaging, I'll try to do math in my head, over 70%, I think. I mean, he's doing good to turn it around.
I think you put him on a team with better offensive weapons in Miami, and I think he's having a much different season.
This is the first thing that came up to my mind. What if you put Tua on Minnesota?
Yeah,
what do you think Minnesota?
Some of the same stuff. Because the thing with Miami has one of the worst offensive lines, if not the worst offensive line in the NFL. They've got a terrible running game and just stable of running backs with undrafted, Husky running backs. And the receivers are, Gesicki's a good tight end. Jalen Waddle, has been really good at times. Devontae Parker's good but injured, but he doesn't have, some of these other guys. He doesn't have a go-to receiver. He doesn't have a running back that can take pressure off him, and he doesn't have a line that really blocks for him that well. So I think, Tua throwing for over 200 yards is similar to some of these other guys throwing for 300 yards just when you're scaling for difficulty. So, I think there's a lot of talent there. I don't know if it manifests itself in Miami, but I think, he certainly is a talented player with, who's had some bad luck at times, but he's not necessarily what all his stats say, and I'm glad he's having a pretty decent year. And, I think, Miami will – the 9.5 that I see them getting is tough, but
it's a little high for me.
I'm at a point in the season where I don't pick the Jets anymore, so I'll take Miami and take them to cover.
Yeah, Miami should definitely win this game, and if Buffalo loses, then they're going to be right there with the Bills, and the Bills will be out of the playoff picture, I believe, depending on a lot of things.
Unless every other 7-6 team loses, which would be funny.
But Miami,
possible.
They have
2 of them play each other.
Any Miami millionaires in the city out there, put $1,000 on the Dolphins making the playoffs. See what happens. Maybe it could happen.
Well, I'd go for 1,000. I'll tell you what you can get, though. I'll tell you what you can get. $1,000 would win you. What is that? Like $7,900? Almost $8,000.
Oh, okay. Not
plus
as much.
Plus 7. No, plus 790. Those are really good odds. That's good odds. I not good enough to take, but I mean, like, for example, the Seahawks are plus 2,400, and they're still mathematically able to make it. So pretty good odds.
So we got Dallas on the road to New York to play the Giants for another 10 a.m. game. The Cowboys are a 10.5-point favorite on the road over the Giants. Again, I think the last time that the Giants hosted the game, I think I said something similar where it was last
week
similar to this number.
Last week the Chargers were like 12 or 13 on the Giants, and they covered it.
Yeah, so the Cowboys have had definitely some ups and downs as of late, been a little inconsistent at times, especially in their run game, which was their bread and butter to start out the year. This is a winnable game. They have a very large chance of winning this game. Dallas does, and Dak being somewhat needing to get his act together. I mean, this is a playoff team, and we need playoff Dak to kind of take over. Because correct me if I'm wrong, has Dak won a playoff game?
Yeah, he beat the Seahawks a few years ago on that QB draw.
Okay, so has he won just the one then? Or? Okay, I mean,
no one did his year when they were pretty good.
Right.
But so he's done it before, but I mean, that might be the only one that I'm checking.
So Dak needs to be on his A game going into the playoffs because, I still have this being the team in the NFC East. I don't think anybody really has a great argument against that.
Well, the argument was squashed last week.
Right.
Yeah, that was his
first
play. 2019 against the Seahawks. That was his first. So it might have been 2018 season. 2018 season. But, yeah, so he's won before. But this is probably, other than his rookie year and that really good team, probably his best shot. They got to get their stuff together. But I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at Micah Parsons because he's the best player on that team right now. He's playing great.
Very much say that, yeah. You could say
I don't know who he's going against. Yeah. I don't know if he's going against Daniel Jones, Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm, but I don't think it matters. He'll have a good day, and that Cowboys defense, because I mean the Cowboys defense started rearing up. I mean this could be a defensive team by the time the playoffs comes around with a pretty good offense. But
when was the last time that Dallas has been a defensive team? I mean, you think about Troy Aikman with Emmitt Smith, and then you had Tony Romo, Des Bryant.
I mean, they had DeMarcus. They've had good defenses, but they've always been a primarily offensive team. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm taking Cowboys to win this. I'll take take the Giants to cover. I'll be honest. I'll take the Giants to cover because maybe I'm overestimating them blowing out the Giants. I'll take the Giants to cover.
You're overestimating them.
We have Washington on the road to take on Philly.
This line makes no sense to me. I don't know what you're seeing.
Yeah, I had to do a double take on it too because I was like, okay, but isn't Washington kind of coming back in the swing of things? The Eagles are a 9.5-point favorite at home against Washington. It's a home. It's ridiculous to me.
This is a playoff play-in game. Maybe. I mean, the Vikings are in the mix, and then Falcons and Saints. These teams are all at the same record, but Washington's in the 7th seed. Eagles are close behind them. The winner of this could very easily be in the playoffs. If Washington wins, they will stay in the playoffs. But this is a pick 'em, if not 2-point favorite either way in this one. I don't know, especially Philly doesn't know what they're doing at quarterback. Jalen Hurts should be ready and able to come back, but the last time they played, they were playing the Jets. So, I don't see enough for them to be huge favorites. So I'm taking Washington because I think this is a pretty even game.
I think Philadelphia definitely can win this game. I'm hoping that Minshew gets another start. I think that'd be really fun for him to maybe get another win on his belt. But Washington,
I do want to say this. All right, well, I do want to say this because I'm forgetting about this, but they do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 players on the COVID list. So I'm still taking them to cover because I don't see Taylor Heineke's name on there. I know he injured his knee, so he might not even be playing because of that. And Kyle Allen is on this list, along with some other names: Jonathan Allen, Kendall Fuller, Montez Sweat, Matt Ioannidis. But 9.5 just seems a bit too much for me, especially if my boy Taylor Heineke's playing. Especially if
I don't think there's really any team in the league that Philadelphia would have a near double-digit spread against.
Well, no,
Jacksonville or Houston or something, but
I think there's 4 teams that are way there at the bottom. But yeah, Washington's not one of them.
So we'll have Tennessee facing off against Pittsburgh this weekend as well. Titans are a 1-point favorite on the road. This could be a very intriguing game for Pittsburgh if they come out on top. I don't think this necessarily hurts Tennessee a whole lot, considering there's still 2 wins ahead of Indianapolis.
It could hurt them in the. I mean, they're still in play for the number ones.
Right.
Yeah.
It could hurt them in that.
I think they're second right now. They're tied with the Patriots and the Chiefs.
And Pittsburgh is a very strange kind of wild card team. I don't think this is a playoff team by any means, but you can tip your cat off to TJ Watt on the defensive side for keeping you these games.
Working. I mean, any team that wins their last 4 games could find themselves in the playoffs. They're all pretty close.
Sure, but I can see Washington or Philly being a playoff team over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, to me, has gotten lucky at times. They've played a few good games, and they've gotten lucky at times. I'm not going to trust Ben Roethlisberger's last season, and Chase Claypool can't run a 2-minute drill. I'm not going to trust
been doing
that
pretty good lately.
I don't know if it's been the retirement announcement, good mojo he's got going on, but that being said, I don't think they have a super low chance to beat Tennessee. I think it definitely could happen if TJ Watt is just relentlessly attacking this Tennessee offense, because fortunately they don't have to play against Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill has been kind of shaky. So
got Deontay Foreman, though.
He could be a very big player in this. Minkah Fitzpatrick could really disrupt the passing game, but Pittsburgh could win. But with a 1-point spread like that, I'd have to pick Tennessee to cover, and I think Tennessee has the better chance of winning. But I'm honestly going 70-30 with Pittsburgh being 30 and Tennessee being 70.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from them recently. I mean, that win against Baltimore was chippy, but they got it done. Obviously, that 2-point conversion that was not of their doing to stop it, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And then last week they had a very spirited comeback attempt against Minnesota on Thursday night.
I was almost very impressed when that was happening. I was like, oh my God, this is about to happen. But then you got Mr. TikTok star who can't hurry the ball back up to the line. So
I mean, they had a shot on 4th down into the end zone that they didn't get to fire.
They could have had an extra play,
very close.
That's all I'm saying. And it there's just drama with this team. One way or another, there's just drama with Pittsburgh. And they're just not a very hard-nosed, mature team.
I'm picking the drama because Tennessee hasn't really been doing anything impressive recently. They're kind of just holding on to what they used to be a couple months ago. So I'm gonna pick Pittsburgh. I think they've got the momentum.
So I wonder which team here has the momentum, because this one.
I've got a theory on this one. I know where you're going on this.
So we have Houston at Jacksonville.
Yep.
Not sure how Jacksonville ever could have a 4.5-point favorite against a team, but guess what?
Because they're playing Houston is that bad.
They're playing
Houston
the Texans.
That bad.
So there's some hope in Jacksonville.
This is the
absolutely destroys them. That's honestly what I hope.
Jacksonville's gonna. Houston's not completely destroying anybody.
No,
they're not.
Other
the best
than
football team.
The Browns
Houston
week
right
1, right? Isn't that the one game that they had a really good showing at?
No, they beat Jacksonville in week 1.
And
then they were doing good against the Browns in week 2, and then Tyrod Taylor got injured. But this is Jacksonville. The burden of Urban Meyer off their back. Darrell Bevell, interim head coach, offensive genius from his days in Seattle. I like to pick I did it with Las Vegas, the John Gruden's gone, come together game. I'm doing it here. I called for them to rally around Urban Meyer when the stuff happened originally. It worked when they went to London, but not great. But this is the game that a team like Jacksonville wins just because Urban Meyer's gone, and that's what I'm going with.
So what is the final?
I mean, come on,
like 6-3. Then I mean, is this even be like a football game?
The defense is sucking. How many players can you name on Houston right now, other than the quarterbacks?
Duke Johnson's on the team with David Johnson. They have two Johnsons at running back. Brandon Cooks at receiver. And,
I think Duke Johnson's on.
Doesn't Bradley Roby to the Texans?
Houston? No.
That's all I'm really thinking.
And Duke Johnson's on the Dolphins. So the Texans might have the worst roster in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, the Jags aren't great, but the Jags have better young talent. Josh Allen, Caleb on Chase on. They have better talent. And so I'm picking them.
This might be the first ever college football game in the NFL that's ever happened, because that's pretty much what this feels like. It feels like a bunch of either some up-and-coming players and some players who are just happy to be starting.
There's been some bad games before. But all right, I've had enough of this game. We've already spent too much time on this game.
All right, I'll pick Texans to win just because I want to.
After this, you have to at least stick with the Texans after what you said. But this has already been too much.
I think it'd be hilarious
on this. So we have to move on, or else I can't do this anymore.
All right,
I've talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars way too much today.
We could talk about the Panthers going on the road to play the Bills. The Bills are a 10.5-point favorite. This is the last 10 a.m. game on Sunday. 10.5 points. A little high.
Give me Carolina cover.
Carolina to cover. Okay. That we were about to have a different conversation.
I'm going full anti-Bills. Not full, I guess, but I'm anti-Bills now. I think they're overrated. Carolina to cover. Bills still win.
You'll say it when they're going to play the Panthers. You don't say it when they play like the Patriots next week. You're going to say it officially right now, like, they're playing a team who has, some guy doing dance moves between plays at quarterback.
They're 7-6 now. They're not. I don't think they're that good.
Okay, so they're 7-6.
They're not a Super Bowl
and the Dolphins
contender.
are like what, 6-7, and you're like, this Dolphins team. Wow, this Dolphins team.
Compared to expectations, it's compared to expectations. The Bills were supposed to be a Super Bowl champion.
The Dolphins are supposed to be an above 500 team this year, and they're not.
And they might be. They're very close to 500. I'm not saying the Dolphins are better than them, but the Dolphins are compared to what they were at the start, they're playing all right. But the Bills, I'm just not. I still think they win, but I wouldn't. I mean, we've seen some bad offensive performances from them, and Carolina's got good defense. But I still think they win. But I don't know if they're beating Carolina by 10 points. Now they easily could, because sometimes Josh Allen plays good against crappy teams. But I'm not sold on this Bills team anymore. I'm out on them.
There's no way that I think the Panthers could actually compete against the Bills. I'm not saying the Bills are like the gods among men in terms of football teams, but the Panthers, I mean, who are they really going to like fully show out against? There's maybe like 6 to 10 teams that are just bad that they could probably compete against. Buffalo is known for either not meeting up to expectations on a given game, or losing games that they should win, or the third option is they absolutely obliterate teams. So
sure, when was the last time that even happened?
There's no way that Carolina can put together an upset, because they don't even know what the hell they're doing at quarterback. They keep bouncing back and forth between PJ Walker and Cam Newton. I mean,
Yeah, just hand the reins to PJ Walker.
Okay, and you think PJ? Well, okay, I know you said that the Bills are going to win this game, but does PJ Walker have a lick of a chance to even take down the Bills?
Jaguars beat the Bills.
Yes, the Jaguars beat the Bills.
Jaguars beat the Bills.
And the Texans beat the Titans. And the Dolphins beat the Patriots. And upsets happen in the NFL. It's not like college football where the number one raw team loses and it's the end of the world.
But when did those games happen? That Patriots happened in week 1. This happened
the Texans game happened just a few weeks ago where the Tennessee Titans lost to them. That was
and I don't think the Titans, and I'm picking the Titans to lose to the Steelers. So I'm consistent on that. But I'm saying the Bills have the potential to play bad enough to not score a touchdown against the Jaguars. So there is a way that Carolina wins because the Bills can play bad enough to where they can't score a touchdown against the Jaguars. So I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Touchdowns against them. There's no way that I think this Panthers offense with no premier quarterback and no Christian McCaffrey and inconsistent play from DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson.
They also have David Moore as well.
Do they actually? That's funny. But they can't put together a good plan to take the Bills on offensively. On defense,
Jaguars didn't score a touchdown. Jaguars didn't score a touchdown. They beat the Bills. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying this is not this Bills team that everybody's losing their minds about at the start of the season. This is a Bills team that's incredibly beatable with some very exploitable flaws. And Carolina's got a talented defense. So I think Carolina keeps it within 10.
Okay. I'll say Bills cover. We got the Bengals on the road playing the Broncos for our first 1:00 game. The Broncos are a 2.5 favorite over the Bengals. I mean, these teams are somewhat similar, even though I'd probably
they're in a similar spot.
If these two teams played against each other, blank slate, didn't have a record, didn't have stakes at hand, they played at a neutral field. If these teams just went head to head, everything even, I think the Bengals are a better football team. Okay, but with momentum coming into play, as well as it being in Mile High, this is a tough one for me because I have the Bengals being a playoff team, I believe, and this is like I look at this game as whoever wins, their playoff hopes are still alive. Whoever loses, pretty much the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I mean, whoever wins is very well positioned.
Because they're both AFC wildcard teams. They're not division winners. So they're literally in the same standings with each other.
They're two of the five teams at 7-6 right now in the AFC.
So whichever team loses, I think their playoff hopes go out the door. And I'm honestly leaning towards Denver. This might be the end of the road for Cincinnati because I think they've held on as long as they could, just relying on the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase connection and, getting Joe Mixon going and whatnot. And even Trey Hendrickson's having a great year as well on the defensive line. But this team, I think they're just a year, maybe two, maybe a year and a half away from being, a really talented team. This could be, the new Arizona Cardinals from a few years ago where it's like, oh, they have Kyler Murray. This is really fun. Oh, they went 6-10 or, oh, they went 5-11. But next year or maybe the year after, this could be the Bengals team that's like, oh, they finished 12-5, 13-4. So this might is the end of the road for the Bengals.
They've still got to figure a few things out, but Denver still has to figure quarterback out. And I think these two teams are fairly similar. Javonte Williams is obviously, going off at the moment, but I'll take Joe Burrow over Teddy Bridgewater, and I'll take the Bengals defense over the Broncos defense. And to me, that looks like a Bengals win. Also helps that they're getting the points because I think this could be a very close matchup.
Okay, this game is so close that I could be tilted either way, but I could see it happening either way. We'll have Atlanta facing San Francisco on the road. San Francisco a 9.5-point favorite. Now, I've been counting out this Niners team all year long, pretty much, and they are an above 500 team now, which is kind of crazy if you really think about this season as a whole. I mean, But this Niners team is 500, and Jimmy Garoppolo isn't playing as bad as I, really hoped he would, to be honest with you. But going against Atlanta, who's for some reason winning games recently. I mean, they're 6-7. They're only a win behind San Fran, but even they are in the wild card conversation too, which is, 2021 NFL season is just.
The Giants are technically not still mathematically eliminated, but right. I like your reading of just a factual statement as a compliment. I'm just saying they are an above 500 team, like that is like saying that they're good or something, because all you can do is like you can just read. I can see you don't believe in them. You just are reading the stats.
To be honest, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what I got from it.
I have to read the result to believe that, and I have the same feeling with like the Dolphins too, to be honest with you.
No, yeah, exactly. No, so but at this stage of the season, I like to ride hot hands, and they've got some pretty hot hands there in San Francisco. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell's been out, but Nick Bosa, they're playing well. Now, would I take them to beat, some of these other teams? Probably not. Would I take them to beat the Falcons? Yeah, because the Falcons, I don't think the Falcons have changed from week 1 until now, and that's a problem. I just don't see what they've upgraded. They're still not throwing to Kyle Pitts. Russell Gage is kind of sort of getting involved, but they're throwing it to Cordero Patterson less. Like, it just seems like they are getting worse and worse. Sometimes getting the wins, but I don't think they've made any significant improvements. I think they're still the team from then, and I think they're bound to finish 7-10, maybe 8-9. Admirable season, but not one that keeps up with the likes of San Fran.
No, and I have a screen here that I'm looking at the team stats for either team, and San Francisco is a relatively average, above average team with team statistics, but Atlanta, I'm looking at, let's see, 10 different stats here, and there's only one of them that's in the top half of the league. In 13th place, it's their third down percentage.
Yeah, their record is honestly one of the more impressive when you look at their underlying stats, because nothing about them suggests that they should be winning games.
I think they just catch teams on their bad days. Like, they don't do a whole lot to improve or really diversify their game plan, but they'll just catch teams on their bad day. Like, if they played the Patriots right now, then maybe Mac Jones forgets how to play football and the Falcons just win. I mean, third down percentage is the only notable stat. They're 26th in points per game. They don't.
Atlanta
turnovers.
Atlanta's a definition of mediocre. They've been mediocre since the start. They're mediocre now. Nothing has changed, and they don't beat teams like San Francisco. I don't know how you feel on the spread because you're not buying into San Fran as much, but I think we both are in agreement that the Niners will win.
I mean, the Niners have not won by that spread in over 3 games now, which was against Jacksonville. Then again, this is the Falcons, and the Falcons are not going to put a whole lot of pressure on Jimmy G. And if there's something that Jimmy G can thrive in, it's when there's no pressure and no expectations. So I think San Francisco could cover.
They've been my my darling, like, oh, let me pick them to get that like backdoor, double digit cover, and it doesn't work. So I'm learning from my mistakes, and I'm not going with them. Well, we got 2 more left.
Yeah, we have Seahawks at Rams at 1:25 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, of course. Rams are a 4.5-point favorite against the Hawks. Rams are going to cover and Rams are going to win. I don't really have to spend much time
Rams
in this.
Time, baby. Rams time.
I don't have to spend much time saying that the Seahawks have any sort of chance. Congratulations, you beat the Texans last week, and you had somewhat of a textbook game against San Fran, but you're playing the Rams, who are
You've doubted them 2 weeks in a row, and they have
the Seahawks. Yes,
you're wrong. So I've
doubted them. I feel like I've doubted them for numerous weeks in a row.
I'm saying two weeks in a row they've proved you wrong. They're playing better. I mean, think about it. Think about it the other way around. This is a game that the Seahawks lose to the 6 and whatever Rams, or the whatever Cardinals seemingly every year, that late season divisional game. So, when it's the Seahawks, if it was the other way around, we'd be worrying about the Seahawks. But with all that said, I think the Rams are the team they're supposed to be. I talked about how if they could get right against Atlanta, then they could be really dangerous, and they could be the team that I was expecting them to be. They're kind of doing that. We'll see if they can continue it down the stretch. But at 5.5 against Seattle, I'll take the Rams all day.
Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks are technically not out of playoff contention. They could actually make the playoffs if they win out the rest of the year and they'd have to losses. But
and a lot of other stuff happens. But hey, I got a lot of Rams on my fantasy team, so I need come on, Rams.
Yeah, Rams win, Rams cover. That's for sure. We have the Green Bay Packers at the Ravens.
Oh wait,
for our last Sunday game.
There's one more.
Well, there's the Monday game, but
no. We didn't talk about Sunday night.
Yeah, that's coming up next.
So
Packers Ravens first.
Oh, okay. I missed this one when I was counting off. But give me the Packers. I've been a Packers believer since like week 2. So I'm sticking with them. I've also been a Ravens believer, but you can go. I was just saying. I've also been a Ravens believer. Lamar might not play. We don't know. But I don't know if that changes much. I still think Packers win.
Because the thing with the Ravens is that they're vulnerable and they're playing the best team in the NFC right now. So
best team in the NFL, maybe.
Potentially, yeah.
I would say best team in the NFL. I would.
I wouldn't be, I think you're totally fine in saying that, and I would most likely say the same thing. I mean, Aaron Rodgers could. No, I said they weren't the best team in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers could do whatever the hell he wants with his offense. I'm not even going to talk about that. And the defense is tremendous as it is. I'm just, Lamar Jackson has to just keep hanging on for dear life to make these playoffs. He does have some favorable games to finish out the year. This one would be a great win for Baltimore to get some momentum going. But the Packers, man, I mean, personally,
Packers defense is really good.
Yeah, the Packers defense is amazing, and they're playing without star players on both sides of the ball. They're playing without
David Johnson,
and I think they're getting back Jair Alexander.
Yeah, they've
next game.
They've either got him back soon or have, and same with Zadarius Smith, I believe. So they're just getting reinforcements.
It's almost like this team can play good with its backups, and then when they get a 10-3 record and the starters come back to play, you think, oh snap! I totally forgot about Jair Alexander.
I'm glad to see you've come back around, because if I remember quite early on,
they're a great team.
Quite early on in the season, you didn't include them on your top 5 teams list.
I didn't. No, but a couple of, the last time that I was really anti-Packers was when they beat Arizona, because I thought Arizona lost, the Packers didn't win. But since then,
they're rolling, baby.
It's just Aaron Rodgers, point blank, period. They are the Green Bay Aaron Rodgers. And
it works.
Obviously make a case for him to win MVP over Brady, but this is going to be Packers all day. And I don't think, as of right now, I don't think there's a team that I'd pick over them if they played any other team this week.
No.
So I think
they're now the number 1 seed, which means that my top 4, I've got the division winners in correct order right now in the NFC. So that's a big win for me. But Sunday night, Bucks, Saints. Saints have given Brady quite a bit of trouble.
Ever since he's gotten to Tampa Bay, he does not have.
Don't know if has he beaten them? He lost once last year.
He lost both times last year. I thought he got blown out both times.
Yeah, I just knew the one for sure. So yeah, he's struggled with them, but now he's got to face Taysom Hill.
They lost to the Saints earlier this year too, so I don't think Brady.
Yeah. This year this year was the Trevor Siemian fill-in game when Jameis Winston went down.
Okay. So Tampa Bay has not beaten the Saints team with Tom Brady. So
I'm definitely picking New Orleans to cover if they're getting 11 points because Sean Payton just, he's got something on him. But will Buccaneers win? Probably. Yes. I'm gonna go with Saints just to be on the right side if it goes down. But I think the Buccaneers are the better team for sure. Great win last week, but I got Taysom Hill on one of my fantasy teams too, so I need Taysom Hill to get it going.
Games like this kind of fascinate me, considering that the Saints are definitely the worst team compared to Tampa Bay. I don't think anybody would really say different. But when there's a good coach playing against a crappy team, like Bill Belichick over the past 2 decades over the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills, just absolutely steamrolled them. I mean, it had been years since any of those teams won against the Patriots or even won on the road against the Patriots. It took them even longer. Yeah. So that's one thing. But I love how there are teams that are not playoff teams or not in the playoff picture, whatever have you, that just beat up the best teams. Like this kind of happened over the years.
Divisional
the Rams taking the Seahawks every year too. I mean, the Seahawks would have a great team going forward, and then the Rams. Oh no, there's Aaron Donald. Guess what? You lost. Like I love
divisional opponents, man. They've just got something on each other, and this is one of them. So what's your pick? Because I'm gonna go with the Saints. I assume you will go the other way, at least
for the sake of the trend. Just for the sake of the trend, and I'd love for this to be the 4th time in a row, I will pick the Saints too. Maybe Tom Brady.
God damn it! That means it's not happening. Yeah.
I can do things, but you can't. I mean,
I've been on a hot streak lately with my picks, so I feel like a lot when we've been disagreeing lately. I feel like it's been going my way. So,
well,
just throwing that out there.
Whatever, I'm picking the Saints, man. I mean, I picked your Packers just 2 minutes ago, and you were all sunshines and daisies at that point. But you didn't pick my Bills worth anything, but I pick your Packers, okay?
No, but I've been getting it right. Bucks beat the Bills, Pats beat the Bills. That's what I'm saying. When I pick against you, it works out for me more times than not. So
I'm glad I can enhance your football watching experience.
So, congrats on the Bucks for winning, since Ryan won't let me pick the Saints by myself. But that's going to do it for us today. Make sure to tune back into us on Monday to go over what has gone down over the weekend. Remember to follow Dash Sports on socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with what we've got going on, as well as give that YouTube channel Dash Sports a subscribe to just keep up with everything that we've got.